After about 15 years in law enforcement, a career where I've done just about every detail that was offered in the department in which I served, I realized that I wanted to make a change in people's lives, and that's why I was in law enforcement. It's almost a cliche, but it was rewarding to be able to go into a crisis and calm things down. There was always a desire to want to get them to the next step, where they change, where they get out of the cycle that is keeping them bondage to a lifestyle that is destructive to them and their family. And over and over and over again, I would seemingly go to the same house, and it got to be where I would say to people, well, I go to the same people's houses, they just live at a different address and they've got a different name, but the problems are the same, they cycle through. I dealt with everything from child abuse to spousal abuse, drug problems, and all the issues that relate from that, theft to neglect of children, exploitation of children, and you felt like you were needed, but you were never able to make that next step to affect the change in their life. And it got discouraging after a while. I'd been saved for about 4 years, and I started to realize that, it was Christ that was the one who was transforming me, and Christ was the one who needed to transform these broken homes. And I thought, a pastor's got the perfect job to be able to go into the same situations I went to, but have a chance to affect lasting change. Souls can be saved. And I thought, why isn't everybody wanting to do this? I talked to my pastor, and he said, not everybody feels the call.
First of all, there was a sense of, hold on. Let's just make sure that this is the right decision, right? That God really wants you to do this. And he understood that. And so we entered into it very prayerfully. We had a lot of long discussions about what that would look like in our lives. We had seen ministry happening, and we had had fairly close relationships with our pastors that we had had over years. And so we were able to see, as much as you can see without actually having done it, some of the work that would go on in ministries.
And my wife and I increasingly felt like there's a big need for churches in rural America. We went around looking to plant a church in rural America. We drove around spots in rural America where we thought God was calling us to serve. And it wasn't lack of churches, it was lack of churches that were cared for, that were healthy, and that the doors were open. A lot of them had closed doors. We went home thinking, they don't need more churches, they just need a revitalization in the small churches that are there in rural America and out of the way places. Because continually people had been saying, oh no, you want to go to inner city or you want to go to urban ministries because that's where there's a lot of people. And it wasn't about the numbers. It was about an area that was being neglected in our country.
So we went to a missions conference with some sweet, lovely friends of ours that are missionaries. We were explaining our hearts to these missionaries that were at this conference and telling them how we felt God was leading us. And we had 3 people in totally separate conversations tell us, oh, have you thought of village missions? And we went, well, what's village missions? We've never heard of that.
So we did what everybody does. We did a Google search. I thought, wow, that is perfect. That's where my wife and I want to serve. But there were a lot of logistics that I had to answer. I've got a family of 3 kids. How am I going to feed them, clothe them, and take them to the doctor? What am I going to do for retirement? Am I going to make enough money? Where are we going to live? So I called Village Missions up and I asked them the real blunt questions. How logistically is this going to work for me making a mid-career change? Village Mission said, there's been guys just like you who've made this change, and God has been faithful. And I started to pray about it, and I realized that, what's my life for? Why did God give me my time, my treasures, and my talents? He gave it to me so I could, with open hands, give it back, and I could be used for His service. And we've been serving now for over 1.5 years, and it's one of the most amazing journeys that I've ever embarked on. And every day I wake up thinking, I can't believe I get to do this. I can't believe I get to be God's ambassador, to be able to unashamedly tell people that Jesus Christ is the solution. I love to be able to go out to eat, to talk to somebody on the phone, to have somebody come over, and then there's those moments in the conversation where it turns to Christ. And being able to speak God's truth into their lives, that opportunity is what I wake up for in the morning, I look forward to, and I realize that's why God called me to be a village missionary.